Hi y'all, if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. My name is Amira, and today guys, we are going to be doing a January favorites. I haven't done a favorites in a while, and I want to get back in the saddle and do these more often because it's going to allow me to talk about, more than just makeup. My favorites are going to be more varied than that. As my last favorites video was, I talk about makeup, skincare, books, all kinds of stuff. So let's get into it. So first off guys, let's start off with skincare because I have one item that I do want to talk about because I finished it, and yeah, and I'm gonna wax poetic about it, and then I'm going to finish up some other products that I have because my decision that I made sort of halfway through the month of January is I feel like I'm drowning in products. And if you are a product lover, purchaser, but also if you're someone who gets like, sometimes friends send me like, I don't get a lot of PR, but I get friends send me, goodie boxes and things like that of things. And so I do sometimes feel like I'm drowning in product. And what will happen is that I'll have something that I really love and I'll finish it and I'll repurchase it, but I'll still have all these other products that kind of do similar things that I just haven't delved into yet. So my sort of promise to myself, at least for now, until I can kind of work through some of the other things that I have, is to not immediately repurchase things that I run out of, but to use other things that that function in similar ways or in the exact same way that I already have, so that I can work through some of this excess product that's sort of like cluttering my life right now. So with that being said, I do plan on eventually repurchasing this item, and this is the Phytosurgence Verdant Force Field. I lost the cap because that's what that's started my life. So yeah, so this is a restorative moisturizer with green tea, licorice root, centinela PHAs, allantoin, and panthenol, and I've been using this pretty much every day since I got it. I didn't take it with me to Vegas because I was worried that I wasn't gonna have enough room in my little, I had only taken a carry-on, so I was worried I wasn't gonna have enough room in my little carry-on. But outside of that 3 days, last year, I've been using this since I got it in end of well, when did I get this? I got this in November, but I didn't start using it right away. And then I started using it towards December, into December, and I've used it all January, which is why I want to include it in this month because I finished it this month, and it's such a great moisturizer. I feel like it's one of those moisturizers that it's really great if you have dry skin. It's really great if you have normal or oily skin because it's not too heavy, and it really has this sort of really great sort of plumping effect. It sinks in nicely. Every time I would put this on my face at night and my skin just had that that glass skin look, that glowy look. This is what would give me that every night when I would use it before going to bed. So yeah, I will definitely be repurchasing this. I just need to work through some other moisturizers that I already have that need some love too, and most of them I did pay for and did buy, so I just want to get my money's worth out of everything. So this is a repurchase eventually for me, but I really enjoyed this, and I can see why it's such a cult favorite. I really can. Next, let's talk about fragrance. So I've been on a fragrance kick since November of last year, and it's still kind of continuing. I go through these phases. I tend to buy fragrance in bulk, not bulk, but buy a lot of fragrance in the winter, and then spring, and then those are the times where I just buy a lot of perfumes. And I've been trying out buying sample sets and really trying to not buy a full bottle of something, like a blind purchase. First of all, I love blind buying perfumes, but that is some risk taking. When you get to certain price points with fragrances, that is not smart. It's not economically smart. So there's a couple of fragrances that I was just very curious about, and I've really been looking for a fragrance that had a really great tea note, like a black tea, Earl Grey tea note. There's something about tea notes, especially around this time of year, that is just so nice and so soothing and so comforting. It's just something about it, specifically Earl Grey. I mean, you can kind of get that if you have fragrances that have bergamot notes, but it's not quite the same. There's a certain bitterness that a black tea can have that bergamot doesn't have on its own. So I was looking and looking, and I'm still looking, and I came upon the Miller Harris Perfumery, and I bought their little, you can buy, I think it's, you can buy $5 samples from there. If you buy 4 or 5 of them, you get free shipping. So I bought 4 or 5 because there's a bunch of different ones that I was really interested in, but the one that I wore the most and the one that I got the most amount of compliments on was this one called Tea Tonic. And this is what it looks like. You can see there's like nothing left. I have finished this, and I do plan on buying at least the like slightly smaller one. I may not buy a big bottle of it, but this is how much is left in this, and I've been hoarding it. There's like nothing in there. And when I pulled this out today, I was like, maybe I should wear this today. It smells amazing. It says, like a morning mist over a tea plantation, sparkling with citrus freshness and the coolness of green leaves. I don't know if I describe it over a tea plantation, but you know what it feels like. It does feel like when you're having, I will describe it as this. It's a foggy, misty morning, and you just woke up and you want a nice cup of hot, warm, you know, just like cozy tea. So you pour yourself in this big mug, a glass of Earl Grey, like a mug of Earl Grey, and you're standing in front of the window, and that first waft of the tea flows up into your face, and it's got like that little bit of citrus that, you know, Earl Grey can have, and that, you know, that little bit of smokiness, and it kind of just immediately not only wakes you up, it just makes you feel so like you've just gotten a warm hug. That's how I would describe this. That's how I would describe this. And every time I've worn this, I've worn it to work, I've worn it, you know, just out and about, out to brunch, and every single time I have worn this perfume, someone says to me, "You smell so good." And I'm just like, thank you. So for me, that is a sign that I need to buy a big bottle of this because it's amazing. And this is, again, this is Miller Harris Tea Tonic. Another fragrance that I actually wound up buying a big bottle of because once I smelled it, I couldn't stop obsessing over it. When I was in Vegas in December, I had gone to Ulta, and I was just like, and I had purchased a couple of like travel sprays from Sephora. And so I was like, I can't purchase any more fragrance. I don't have any room, you know, but I was really curious, and I've been curious about the Philosophy Amazing Grace perfume in the lavender perfume, and it's been sort of like hearted on my Ulta like app forever, but I haven't smelled it. And I was like, I don't know, because not everyone's lavender is created equal, you know. I feel like I'm like, this is either going to be really great, or it might not just be, it just might not be for me. So when I went to Ulta in Vegas, they had a big bottle of it sitting out, and I was like, okay, this is my time, this is my moment. So I sprayed it on one of those little perfume spray cards, and I walked around with that card just like, I felt like I should have just taped it to my nose. I took it and I put it in my pocket. I had it in my little clutch when I went to the Creators and Friends holiday party. I literally was just taking it everywhere because I wanted to know if it would still continue to just captivate me. I brought it all the way home to Chicago and was like, and it still smelled amazing. And I was like, okay, I just need to buy it. And Philosophy was having a sale on their website, and I was like, I'm getting a big bottle. And guys, this, the thing is that the lavender note in here is there, but it's not, for me, it's not the predominant note. It's like lavender. It's like this really beautiful, it smells like it has a little bit of neroli in it. It smells like it has a little bit of, maybe a little bit of some citrus, some bergamot in it, and with the lavender sort of at the tail end. And it's like crisp. It doesn't feel super floral, even though it's lavender. I don't get a super floral vibe from this at all. It just feels really crisp and brightening almost. It's much brighter than I was expecting it to be for a lavender scent. Lavender tends to have a bit of a heaviness to it, which I don't mind a lot of the time, depending on what other notes are put with it. This just feels so bright, and even though this is sort of a type of scent that I would tend to reach for in like spring, I've loved it so much that I was like, I need to wear it now. So I've been going back and forth between this one and this one. Like, these have been the two, and both of them have this sort of like uplifting quality to them. Even though the Teatonic Essay is heavier, there's something about that burst of like the bergamot and the citrus in that sort of Earl Grey-esque note that lifts it up and keeps it from being too heavy. And this is just very bright and uplifting and just stunning. So if you had your eye on this, and if you have similar tastes as I do in fragrance, this is a recommendation for me. Next up, let's talk foundation. So you guys know I did my review of the About Face Beauty Performer foundation, and I am adding this to my favorites. Now, I am going to be picking up a different shade of this because the more I've used this, the more I feel like this is just too deep for me for now. It'll probably work really well for me in the summer, but for now it's just a tad too deep. So I'm going to pick up a slightly lighter shade. But outside of that, I've been really liking this. I've been really enjoying it. It is very skin-like. It does give good coverage. I do notice that if I'm in a temperature that's a bit drier, or if it's super humid, I do have to powder a bit more. But outside of that, I've been really enjoying this, and this has sort of been the foundation that I've been wearing on the days that I've been wearing foundation. There are days when I just wear concealer, but when I'm wearing foundation, this is what I've been reaching for, and I've been really, really enjoying it. So this, yeah, update on this. I'd put a pinned comment when I did my review of this, and I'll leave a card up if you want to watch the full review, but my feelings on this still stand. They're the same. This is a really great, long-lasting, skin-like, with a decent amount of coverage foundation. At the end of last year, I placed my first Victoria Beckham Beauty order, and I purchased 3 items. I purchased one of her lip sticks, Pose, which I haven't worn a lot. I wasn't in love with the way it felt on my lips. I feel like I need to revisit that and live with it and sit with it for a little bit longer. I can't really give you my full thoughts on it because I just haven't reached for it enough. But the things that I have been wearing and reaching for consistently are the 2 eye products that I picked up. So I picked up the Eyewear Longwear Crease Proof Eyeshadow Stick in the shade Caramel. And then I picked up the Satin Kajal Jewel Liner in Smoky Quartz. Y'all, Smoky Quartz has become like one of my all-time favorite pencils. It is, first of all, her Satin Kajals, and if you've heard, I'm sure you guys, if you own them or you've heard people talk about them, they're incredibly creamy and easy to blend and easy to use. This is something that you can definitely use all over the eye and to get that look. So it's this really beautiful smoky, hence the name, tone. It's kind of like not green, it's almost like a khaki tone with brown and gold, and it's just beautiful. And I like to use this as a wing, and I'll smoke it out a little bit and I'll put it under, and I'll just, and that'll be all I do. And it's like I did a look, you know, but I've just used this one product. The other product that I like in usage, but I hate in the way that it has been packaged, because, and I'll tell you exactly why I have issues with this, is when I first got this, I opened it up and the pencil broke. Like, it fell out. This part fell out. Now, keep in mind it's winter, it's cold. I'm wondering, it could have been broken in transit. It could have gotten cold and snapped. But I have to say, when you're spending this amount of money on products, to have something come to you and you take it out the package and it immediately breaks is kind of, you know, it kind of just puts a damper on your feelings about it. So for me, like when I first opened this up, this comes completely out. Like, I can sit it back down in here and I can roll it up and I can roll it down, but it's broken. So I have to be really careful when I'm applying it that I'm not rolling it up too high so that it breaks while I'm trying to apply it. But I'll apply it to my hand gently because I do really love the tone of this. So this is Caramel, and I've been pairing these two together, but you don't have to. Like, I've used this on its own and just rubbed this out, just like applied this and blended it out all over my lid. I've used this on its own for like a nice, like a wing, but then smoked out on the lash line, and stunning. And I've been using these a ton. So I will say that even though I feel like the price point is really high, and she actually went up on her price points in the new year. I think she went up January 1st, January 2nd, she went up like $2 per product practically, which is a lot considering how expensive her stuff is anyway. So I will say I like the products, but I will say if you can wait for a sale, wait for a sale. That's my point on that, but I really, really like these. And finally, for makeup, I have this lipstick, and I've worn this in pretty much every video I've done in January. Mine is this one. I don't know if this is going up in January or like the beginning of February. I don't know. I'm not wearing it today. I'll put down below what I'm wearing today. It's a lip oil, and I'm enjoying it. But this lippy since I got it has been in pretty much every video, and that is the Hourglass Unlocked lipstick in the shade Large. And she looked like this, and she's so stunning, and she's just, you guys know Hourglass has been kind of like, I fell out of love with Hourglass, and I hadn't purchased anything in like literally years, and the only reason I purchased this is because Kara from Beauty and the Frizz was wearing this lipstick at Creators and Friends holiday party in Vegas, and I kept staring at her lips going, what is on your lips? And she was like, oh, it's large, you know. I was like, oh, okay, purchase. So this is what it looks like. It is a stunning like medium brown with a hint of rose. It's my kind of lipstick tone, and I have been wearing this incessantly, and I've fallen in love with this formula. I was like, you Hourglass, why did this formula have to be so amazing? So I don't know if I'll pick up any more. I'm going through a lipstick renaissance right now, guys. My declutters are coming. I haven't filmed nary a one yet as of today when I'm sitting down, but they're coming, and I already know, I've already set myself to the task of I'm going to be decluttering most of my lipstick collection because it's time. A lot of them are older. They're probably expired. They just need to go. A lot of my tastes have changed. So it's just time to cull the herd, you know? And so what's the excitement for that impending like declutter, because it's not that I feel like I own too many lip products. I own a lot of lip products, but it's not that. It's just that I feel like I'm ready for newer products, and the products that I've had for a really long time, and it's just time for a refresh. So it's made me feel sort of like okay with buying new lippies because I'm ready for the new and out with the old and with the new. So I felt okay buying this, and I've purchased a few other lippies since then, but this is the one that has really just sort of, it's just been that girl. Large has just been that girl for me, I have to say. Next up, guys, let's talk books. So I went on a reading renaissance in 2023. I had really fallen off the wagon with reading, and I used to be such an avid reader. I read a ton of books every month, every year, and I just kind of fell off, and I really wanted to get that aspect of my life and my identity back because I love reading, and it was such a huge part of my life and who I was for so long. And so in 2023, I sort of set myself this really modest goal. I was going to try to read a book a month. I was going to do 12 books in a year, and I wound up doing 21. And I was really proud of myself for that. And so this year, I feel like I've kind of gotten gotten back into the groove of reading. And so I've set a higher goal. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm hoping I'm going to reach it, but also surpass it, because I surpassed my last year's goal. So that's sort of like my secondary goal. But I started off strong. I read 4 books this month, 4.5. So I've started a book this weekend that I'm probably going to finish this weekend. And so I'm going to include it, but I can't really give you my thoughts on it because I haven't finished it. But so far, I'm enjoying it. It's a cute little love story. Now, in January, I really wanted to focus on books that were just really cozy and sweet and easy to read and easy to digest, because I just had I was reaching like burnout with the books, the types of books that I had been reading towards the end of 2023. Was reading really like intense books or fantasy, and I just wanted to read something that was cute and cozy. So the first book I read on January 1st, and let me also say this, is that I don't really read like Christmas romances generally, but all of my friends were reading them. And then during the end of December, I didn't have really a chance to like sit down and like read like I wanted to read. And I feel like cozy, Christmas season went by really fast. So it was like, and I didn't have any time off like I normally do around the holidays. So I worked from like December 23rd to like my first like 2 days off were Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So New Year's Day, January 1st, I was like, I'm gonna be cozy. I grabbed my blankie, I lit a candle, and I was like, let me find the coziest, sweetest book I can possibly find. And I found it. And the name of this book is Cat Cafe Christmas by Cody Gary. I finished this book in an afternoon. I cannot tell you how in love with this book I was. It is such a sweet book. The romance is sweet. It's not too heavy. It's really cute. It's not too intense. And then there's cats. And it's a cat cafe. And the cats are characters, guys. They're not just like peripheral. Like, they're peripheral, but they're like, they have names, they have personalities. There's multiples because the cafe has their cats, but then the protagonists have their cats. I was in heaven. So if you're looking for something that you can read in like an afternoon and that you will just feel so like about, I highly recommend that book. Then I read 2 Catherine Walsh books. And I started one of them that same day that I finished Cat Cafe Christmas. And I started these based off of the recommendations from Carrie Can Read. I love her channel. I like her book channel and her Carrie Cakes vlog channel. She was doing this series of reading a bunch of like Christmas romance novels, and she disliked most of them except for the Catherine Walsh ones. She read Holiday Romance and Snowed In. Now she read them backwards because Holiday Romance comes first and then Snowed In, and I think she did it the other way around. So I was like, duly noted. So I read Holiday Romance first. Loved it. If you want a book that is a romance between 2 relatively well-adjusted adults who own their stuff, know what their issues are independent, aren't overly dramatic, who have relatively positive relationships with their families, who understand friendship. It was just so refreshing. I feel like Catherine Walsh's book are like the anti Colleen Hoover books. You know what I mean? Like, everyone was just like, I can stand to sit and be with these people in this book for this long. It's not a long read, but I was just like, no one annoyed me. And that is a thing that happens with me in romance novels and a lot of like YA books and stuff, is that the characters start to annoy me. No one annoyed me. I liked everyone. And the story is really cute and really sweet, and really it's about friendship that turns into romance, and it's just like so cute. And then I read Snowed In. Now I will say I didn't like Snowed In as much as I loved Holiday Romance, but I still really liked Snowed In because it's a different dynamic. It takes place with some peripheral characters from Holiday Romance, which is why you should read Holiday Romance first, because it's basically like a sequel, but with or a spin-off. And that story was just as engaging. I liked the characters just as much. There are some unlikable characters, but that's part of the story. It's part of the plot. But her books just like are those type of stories that you read and you're just like, you just close them, you close the book or you turn off your Kindle and you're just like, I feel like I spent my time wisely. Like, I don't feel overly emotional. I don't feel mentally exhausted. I don't feel gaslit. I don't feel like, traumatized. I just read a lovely romance. That's what her books are. Now, I'm currently reading a book called Role Playing, and let me look up the author's name. So yes, I'm reading a book called Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. And what I like about this book is it's a very, if you are an adult nerd, an adult gaming dork, you might like this story. It's a romance, but it's a romance between two adults. Like, again, I've really been enjoying, and I think it's because I was just reading way too much YA fantasy. I've been really searching for some, like, either adult romance, like grown-ups in romances, or I've been looking for fantasy with no romance between the characters, because it just gets so, like, ridiculous. So I read Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. I'm almost finished with that, and so far I'm enjoying it. Lastly, the last book I've completely finished this month was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. And this kind of plays into what I just said about why fantasy having romance. I really loved this book right until the romance became the main plot. Once the romance became the main plot, I kind of lost interest. It's an amazing story, and she's done such an amazing job building the world that I kind of felt like the romance was taking me away from the thing that I was the most interested in, which was this world that she had built. Because the world that she has built is so intriguing. And just to give you a synopsis of what the story is, and Divine Rivals, I know, is a very popular book, so I'm kind of late to the party. So if you guys have already read it, you can fast forward through this part if you want to. But it's basically this story of these two journalists, or wannabe journalists. They're really working hard to become journalists. So they're working as interns at this paper in their town called Oath. And Oath is kind of like, it's basically London. And this kind of takes place, I would say this story is very much like a story that takes place in 1930s, 40s London during World War II, except the war is not World War II, it's a war between gods. So there's these two rival gods that are fighting, and one of the gods, Inva, is calling people to her side to fight for her on her side. And one of the correspondents, her brother he's heard the call, and the call is literally Inva singing. Like, they hear Inva singing and they feel compelled to come fight for her cause. Her brother hears the call, he goes off to war, he leaves behind this young woman and her mother. Her mother's not coping well, her mother's drinking a lot. She goes off because she wants to be a journalist, and she really wants to write about the war. And what she comes to realize is that the powers that be are really not wanting the big city of Oath to really know everything that's going on. And so she feels like the city is very unprepared for what is coming. You then have, on the flip side, this guy who also works there, and they're vying for the same position, hence the rivalry. But they're also falling in love with each other without knowing that they're falling in love with each other. And that's where the more of the plot comes in. So read the synopsis on like Amazon or something, but that book, I loved 60% of it, 70% of it. 30% of it was the romance, and 30% towards the end of the book just kind of lost me, because I was just like, but what about Inva? I wanted to hear more about these gods, because the mythology, like Rebecca Ross does such a good job of building that mythology, that I was just feeling very like, I need more of this. So I enjoyed the book. So yeah, that's what I read in January. I wanted to sort of take this moment to tell you guys what I've been reading. I also started another book that I DNF'd, but I'm only DNFing for now. Not because I didn't like it. I started it and I was just like, you know how you're starting a book and you just realize you're just not in the mood for that type of story. So I begged off. I'm going to go back to it at some point. I might even go back to it in February after I finish, a couple of other books. But that's what I've been reading in January. January has been a very productive reading month, which I am really, really excited about. And that's what for me, winter is sort of like you know, peak reading season because you're kind of trapped indoors a lot of the time. So it's a good time to sort of like get some really good books under your belt. So yeah, that's what I have read in January. Let me know in the comments down below, guys. What were some of your favorite things? Anything, it doesn't have to be makeup, it doesn't have to be skincare. Just what have you been loving in January? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed today's video, guys, please be sure to hit the like button and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.